So I have some concerns about this draft.
Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel, and if you follow along on my goals videos, you'll already know that I've been working on a co-written story with my best friend for a long time. This is basically like 3 years in the making. Seriously, the first chapter that we ever wrote was on December 14th, 2015. And that's not talking about when we came up with the idea, which was a few months before, and it's also not talking about when we just first started talking about maybe writing a story together, which I don't know how long in the beginnings of our friendship we talked about doing that. And I met this girl in college, so it's been a while. But I'm talking about the very first start of the story, the very first chapter, December 14th, 2015. So it's almost been 3 years. It has had one beta reader before besides the two of us. Kinda sorta throughout the process, but now we are both going to be printing out our story. The third draft. This is version 3 of the story. So since there were a lot of questions last time about what exactly I do when I print out my story, I thought I would show y'all the entire process of printing it out kind of specifically and then going and picking it up and my excitement, but also this video is just gonna be super comprehensive because I'm also gonna document the rereading process. So let's do this. The day that was never gonna come. It's here. Okay. Okay, so now that I have it all mostly formatted, and all I like to do on the formatting is make sure that each chapter starts off on a new page. That's it, and I center the title or the title of the chapter plus the character's name, who is the point of view character. So first up, I always use Office Max or Office Depot, but any of your kind of printing services should be able to do this. So it's just whatever's near you or whichever you like best, or you have a card with, whatever. I go to the print and copy section, and then for Office Max I click within document printing, and I'm actually going to go, and instead of it technically being a manual, I'm going to change this to a spiral bound book. That's just because it has more of my preferences that I would like to begin with, and so it's just easier for me. And I really like the spiral because I find it easier after so many pages to just kind of like read through. So they have the option of uploading the document from your device or from your Google Drive or Dropbox, basically however you want to do it, but I did save this one in a PDF form to my device. So I'm gonna upload it this way. And now because it already is the spiral bound book, I don't actually have to do much changes to the spiral portion of it. So I'm just gonna go to the finishing, and I make sure to put a front cover on mine. That way it doesn't actually damage any of the pages, which I think is so important because in the past I've accidentally like had the front couple pages will rip because I'm just not a careful person. So if I have a title page, that helps so much, front and back. And I like to do them in the same thing just because why not? Then just make sure to double check that the front and the back and everything matches. And if you have pages on the last one, you know, you can click through this and see, make sure your document's right. That'll be so important. And then once I'm done, I actually choose free store pickup. I've never had any of these delivered to me because I don't like paying delivery fees if I don't have to. And also if you're in Office Max or Office Depot, you should always search for a coupon code because I've never not used them without a coupon code. Save yourself $5 extra. It's great. And as you guys can see, I'm actually in the Salt Lake City area, so I'm going to be walking to the Office Depot later, and you guys will get to see a little bit of Salt Lake City.
It's happening! Place order! Yeah! So it's 10:04 right now. I've never actually had it be as late as they tell me it is, but we will find out. I put my number so they can text me. I got a text, it's ready! So we have some concerns about this story as it sits right now, and it's like 3 different concerns, 3 very specific concerns. So our first main concern is that we both took 2 different point of view characters, and we're writing in like a genre that we're calling Hallmark but in book form. It's like a contemporary romance after college, so it's not like a new adult thing. The problem with that though is that while I do read some contemporary romance novels, I don't read nearly as much as my co-writer does, and she really leaned into like the Hallmarky part of it, and mine is slightly more like realistic, I guess. So I need to cuten mine up, and she needs to like tone hers down on like being so over the top so that we're in the middle. But we're definitely not there yet, so that's a concern. The next major concern we have is description. And I've talked before about co-writing and how important it is to have complementary skills, and I think that my co-writer and I definitely do have complementary skills for most things, but not description. And as y'all know, description is like the bane of my existence, and I always have to add it in later. Well, guess what? So does my co-writer. So that's another concern. And my final biggest concern is that one character came across as such a butthead in the first draft because we have an action-oriented character and a more passive character, each with their own like faults for those kind of reasons. And all of that kind of feeds into this problem that they're having, but the action-oriented character definitely came across as not as nice, which was never the intent. I think in this draft we actually managed to fix it, and it's a lot more balanced and originally true to what we wanted the story to be, which is great, but I'm gonna have to reread that to know, so I guess that's where we'll be picking this up next, is actually grabbing my story from the store and reading it and figuring out if we did our concept justice. Chapter 1. You mean?
I don't know. I can't remember being over there. I just remember.
So I'm about to start reading Project White. Not actually gonna call it that, but it doesn't have a name. At this point, I do think I'm actually gonna call it that. I'm about to start reading it, and then I had to pause because I was like, look at my assortment of colored pins. I want like to make a key. Is anyone else this freakishly organized? I'm like, I need a key for what each of these means, you know? Fix the voice on my character in her chapters. Does a plotline not make sense? Do we need more description somewhere? I need to make a key. Pulling out my favorite colors. Don't judge my handwriting. Okay, now I can start reading. Da 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 da. Chapter 1. So one thing I love about our story is that the characters are like so polar opposites, but like the kind where they've been friends for forever, since childhood, and they've been through a lot, like the death of one of their mothers and, you know, high school and cheating boyfriends in college and all sorts of stuff. So it's like they've been through thick and thin together, but they're so different. And so it's so fun when we get to play with like, this person says this, and then you get a chapter later where it's like they're kind of making fun of it, or they're like, this is ridiculous. And so you get two different perspectives on this same issue, and it's just so good. And I think it's always good when you can enjoy something that like you've written or you've helped write in this instance. So that's nice. Chapter 15 out of 34. My mind is slowly becoming goo. I don't want to table this because I'm really enjoying reading it, but because you have to read it with a different brain, like it's not totally reader brain and it's not totally writer brain. It's like something in the middle. So it's more work than just reading a normal book. So this isn't like a relaxing process, you know, like I'm in the search for things that need to be changed. It's just a lot of chapters. Just a lot of chapters. Alright, I'm back. Let's talk about Project White real quick, because I got some answers to some of those questions I was so curious about, but I'm not super happy with them. Ugh. I'll put my stuff down first. Woo! The Mary Poppins bag. The other bag. Okay, so the biggest problem, one of them, was that I was worried that we didn't do, that one character came across like a butthead, and in this reading she comes across as such a butthead. And it's one of those things that I don't know if we toned it down a little bit in the beginning, if it would help, because she's not meant to be that much of a butthead. So basically what it is that you have two best friends and one's kind of imposing her will on the other, which, you know, for all the good intentions would still be super frustrating for this other character. But the way it comes across, it's just so negative from the other character. Like, it needs to be toned way down, because otherwise you don't want to put up with the other girl in her chapters. And in her chapter, she comes across as, you know, sweet and good-natured and definitely, you know, strong-willed and whatever, but It's like you don't even care. You're like, you already suck. And I also have to wonder if part of that is because she's the second character, you know, so all of her chapters are the even number chapters. So her first narrated chapter is chapter 2, when she's already kind of made an impression on the reader, and it's not a great first impression. Could that be it? I don't know. I don't know. I had to lock the door. I forgot. And now here's the thing about having a co-writer is that I think the problem is how she's presented in the other chapters. And you want to give the perspective of this character that my co-writer's written, and you want to do justice to that. But it's like, why is she friends with the person if that's how she really feels? So like, that's why we need to tone it down. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to express this, because we both already knew it was a concern. And the sad part is that we've already toned it down a little bit. Like, I don't know, as a reader, and our beta reader thought this too, like, you just don't like her. You don't like Clark and Mandy's chapters. You like Clark and Clark's chapters, and you like Mandy and Clark's chapters, even if you agree that Mandy kind of needs to grow a backbone. So it's just one of those things. Man, oh man, okay. I just really don't have an answer to this, and that's why it's so frustrating. Ah. But no. I think I'm actually gonna finish the story tonight. I'm on chapter 31 of 34 chapters. This last part really like breezes by, and it's so cute because of course it's a rom-com, so the ending's always just so satisfying in the happily ever after kind of way. All right, so the final step in my personal process is after I write all of my individual notes in my printout, I then take the most important or like biggest issue items, like, because sometimes I'll mark grammar or put like expand on this or any other assortment of like add description kind of things. Those stuff I don't consider to be plot related, character related, like important issues to solve. A lot of quotes going on here. I don't think they're things that you need to fix necessarily in the next draft. Like, they're not the meat. They're the potatoes of my story. So obviously, of course, when you get to the stage where you want to start querying something, or you want to start publishing, or you want to give it to an editor, you want to try and make it as good as it can possibly be, but we're not really at that stage yet where we're going line by line edits. So I'm going to show you notes, and then more notes. So I have 2 whole pages of notes, and they're like little ones because there's 34 chapters and I had to write down each chapter. There were, let me count. There were 4 chapters out of 34 where I was like, okay, there's no big things to fix. And I'm saying big, like some of them were naming issues where I was like, we need to fill in the dots here. We have to name them before we give it to the next round of beta readers kind of thing. So some of it's not that big of a deal. And a fair amount of these chapters, I was like, I need to fix the way that Clark, the character I'm responsible for, the point of view chapters, I have to fix her dialogue in the Mandy chapters because I just don't think that certain portions of it were done in her voice. And my co-writer will do the same thing for Mandy and Clark's chapters. So these individual notes are things that I'm gonna go over with my co-writer whenever we have our meetup, and I'll make a video about that later when we also get our beta reader feedback, because I think we might be able to do it like 2 in 1. We might all talk together about it. I think the main thing I got out of this was that, again, while I still enjoy the story that we're trying to tell, it's definitely one of those things where I can tell we're still trying to tell it. Does that make sense? Like, we're not there yet. There's things that need to be fixed, and those 3 things that I said at the beginning are still the things that need to be fixed. And I thought we'd fixed some of them potentially, but we did not. Or I guess we improved them, but we just need to continue improving them. And the interesting thing for me will be to see if my co-writer felt the same way, or if she noticed anything in these individual chapters that I didn't notice, because we did have some like inconsistencies or continuity errors that we need to go back and decide specifically on, be like, okay, is it gonna be this or this? And if it's gonna be this, you might have to rewrite, you know, whole portions of your chapter kind of thing. But then also it'll be interesting to see if our beta reader, I gave him the 3 things that I wanted him to focus on, which were the 3 things that I said were our main concerns. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back with any other concerns. That's always the thing. Are the beta readers gonna tell you anything that you didn't personally notice? And it's nice having a co-writer because you have another set of eyes, but it's also not great because I think that sometimes you work together to kind of bury your head in the sand about stuff. So I'm gonna hope that that's not what we're gonna do. So I feel like I'm finishing this video with more questions than I have answers, or like the answers that I got spawned more questions. But I think that's pretty indicative oftentimes of just the redrafting process. To be totally honest, I think that's just kind of how it goes. So please comment down below and let me know any tips or tricks you've learned throughout the redrafting process, how you personally like to edit your story, and also how you personally prefer to receive feedback. In my last beta reader feedback video, I had a lot of people say that they need, like, I'm gonna say gentle gloves, not in that they want you to lie to them, but they want you to do it in a gentle manner, like don't just rag on their main character. But I'd love to hear if you feel that way, or if you're one of those people, and I have seen some of them who are like, just tear it up, just destroy it, tell me the harsh truth and do it that way. Like I'm just so curious how many people there are like that. So please comment down below, I would love to hear about it. Thank you guys so much for watching it, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye.
People are here. I'm running away from the people.
Why is the toilet making sounds? There's a motorcycle.